Michael Keaton. Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice is out in cinemas from Friday, certificate 12A. Time now for another star who first came to prominence in the 1980s, Matt Johnson and his band The. They're releasing their first studio album in nearly 25 years, Ensoulment, which is something of a philosophical meditation on the post-COVID world of online loneliness. Here's a burst of its opening track, Cognitive Dissonance.
Truth stands on the gallows, lies sit on the throne. Something in the shadows communicates by code. The unthinkable is now thinkable. The poison, it's drinkable. So get with the program, get in sync. You better self-censor for wrong think.
The sound of The. Since Soul Mining in 1983, the band's produced a number of successful albums with an impressive changing lineup of guests and band members, including Johnny Marr, Mark Almond, Sinead O'Connor and Neneh Cherry, but with Matt Johnson always at the helm, and regarded as one of the most original voices to emerge out of the post-punk music scene in Britain. But The are back, and very much now, touring from the end of this month. Welcome to the studio, Matt.
Thank you.
And all of you. The album, I gather, emerged as a result of an operation you had on your voice.
Well, that was one particular song called Linoleum Smooth to the Stocking Foot, where at the start of COVID, I was hospitalised with an abscess on the throat, with nothing to do with COVID itself, but I ended up being in hospital during that time. And after the operation, which was quite a serious operation, I was sort of hallucinating on morphine and wandering the darkened corridors in my stockinged feet. And I thought, I've got to get something out of this. So I was keeping notes. There's what it put me in mind of, it was such a strange experience. And I jotted this down in my notebook, was Lars von Trier's The Kingdom. Do you remember that television series, which is very, very bizarre? Tarkovsky's Solaris, when they're on the spaceship, and The Ordeal of Gilbert Pinfold by Evelyn Waugh, where he goes completely paranoid. So those three things that sprung to mind. It was the most bizarre experience, and so I thought I have to create a song out of it. But that was just one song from the
Well, it was just one song, we should say. I mean, you know, you've given us straight away a snapshot for those who don't know your music of just how rich the kind of cultural world is that you draw on and the way that you think. You're going to play us a track called Sometimes I Drink My Coffee by the Grave of William Blake. Is it true?
It is true. I lived close to that graveyard, Bunhill Fields graveyard, on and off since I was about 20 years old. Different times. My youngest son went to a school close by there, so I would often sit and think. I'm not sure if yourself or all of you in the studio or your listeners have thinking places. It's very important to have thinking places, and I have a few thinking places dotted around the world, different cities that I like. A place that you go and you meditate, and I think the more you go back to these places, time seems a concertina. And all of the thoughts and feelings that you've had seem to concentrate in these places. And that is one of the places that I go to. Although these days it could be an iced decaf latte with oat milk. Some days I drink that by the grave. Doesn't sound quite as good though. Right,
so you're joined by Barry Cadogan, who's backing vocals and electric guitar, DC Collard on keyboards, James Eller on bass, and Chris Whitton on snare drum. And Matt Johnson and The. Over to you.
Some days I drink my coffee by the grave of William Blake. Some days when the hours pass too late, lost in my thoughts, where do I belong? The London I knew is gone, long gone. The sun hangs low, the church bells toll, the clouds unfold with burning gold. When truth breaks through these city walls, a furious Albion must fall. Greedy, unpleasant land wraps itself in a flag, pretending It's freedom, a dictatorship in drag. The forever wars, tyrannical laws, the coup d'etats with probable cause, all revealed too little more than light applause. The sun hangs low, the church bells toll, the clouds unfold with burning gold. When truth breaks through these city walls, perfidious Albion must fall. The agents of malice, provocateurs in disguise, using slivers of truth to sell the biggest of lies. The lexicon is weaponized, population atomized, information criminalized, the dissenters tongue tied. The sun hangs low, the church bells toll, the clouds unfold with burning gold. When truth breaks through these city walls, perfidious Albion must fall. By the grave of William Blake, by the grave of William Blake.
Wonderful. Matt Johnson and The with Sometimes I Drink My Coffee by the Grave of William Blake. This whole album feels like such a poetic response to a very changed world. And I'm thinking, how come it's been such a long time since your last studio album?
Well, a quick potted history. A lot of people don't realise how long I've been involved in music. I was singing in my first band about the age of 11. I left school at 15 to work in a Soho studio at 15. I formed The at 17. Yeah, so at 17. And so I'd already been doing it for about 3 decades by the time it came to the year 2000. And I was very burnt out. Gone through a lot of bereavements, as many of us do in life. And that really, I just wanted to take time away. And then I got involved in, when I say local politics, in terms of conservation work, trying to save old buildings, film soundtrack work, book publishing, being a dad, living in different countries. And 25 years goes very fast these days.
Yeah. There's one particular song I really wanted to ask about, which is, I think it's called Zen and the Art of Dating. It's about the dehumanizing, addictive experience of online dating.
Yeah.
And I was thinking back to songs like The Dogs of Lust on Dusk, which is a single I remember buying. Is there a theme across your work about addiction, about appetite?
Probably. I do have an addictive personality. And there's a lot of humour in Zen and the Art of Dating, black humour. I find it, I laughed out loud as I was writing it, but it's about intimacy in the age of alienation. And there's not many, it's hard to be funny with lyrics. There's not a lot of, well, yourself.
We were talking about Tim Minchin, who's in the studio as well.
He's very good. Yeah. But Jake Thackeray is somebody, as a kid, I used to quite enjoy, and I found his lyrics were quite amusing. But I suppose with Zen and the Art of Dating, there is a definite relationship with film songs like that, Out of the Blue, Dogs of Lust. And I'm an older person and I'm more sort of philosophical, have more of a sort of, I do have a bit of a more Zen Buddhist or Stoic sort of outlook on life now. I've changed a lot compared to
I wanted to ask you, you've mentioned what I was going to say, which is that you are a kind of elder statesman now of post-punk for many, a genuine original thinker. How does it feel to be putting out an original studio album in the era of streaming and surge ticket pricing and all the rest of it?
Yeah, it's a very different world to the world that I came into as a not as a punk, as a post-punk, which was a very different experimental underground world.
Yeah.
I feel a lot happier in myself as a person, more energetic, and that 25 years off did me a lot of good. I feel raring
I
to
was
go.
talking about touring because I saw an interview recently where you talked about how, contemporaries of yours like Depeche Mode and The Cure, you looked at just how much touring they did, which
Yeah.
went with the territory of becoming a huge, huge band. You
Yeah.
obviously have a huge musical reputation, critical reputation. The touring you are doing now again, aren't you? How do you feel
That's
about it?
only our fifth world tour since
Yeah.
1979. So I just do enough promotion not to get a proper job, And I admired those bands, actually. They're very hard working. I couldn't have done that. I'd like to have a very full life outside of that, a close family and lots of friends. And I'm a bit hedonistic, or I was, I should say, when I was younger. But I couldn't have done what those guys did. But so,
Well,
trying to make up for it now.
don't make us wait another 25 years for another album, please.
No, I'd be in my 80s then, wouldn't I? Or even older. No,
Excellent.
I'll try not to.
Well, thank you so much. So Matt Johnson and The, and their new album Installment is out on Friday, and they are touring the UK from September the 33rd, and then the world.
Yes. Thank you very much.